The chosen one. Keep an eye out before your life takes a significant turn. Something is changing in your life and you can feel it. Like the quiet rumbling of a storm or the calm just before dawn. This film conveys a message intended not for everyone, but for those on the verge of something monumental. If you're seeing this right now, it is not by chance. There are no coincidences. Life has been a lightning bolt behind the scenes, working silently and ready to reveal you things you were never intended to see. What you're going to hear is a wake-up call, a whisper from the future you are entering. And it is begging you to remain awake because the following chapter does not happen by coincidence. It starts with a decision. Stay with me to the very conclusion of the video. Write your sincerest wish in the comments right now, including the numbers. 777. This tiny gesture will not only transmit your intentions into the cosmos, but it will also aid to invigorate the area we share. Collective energy has a strong effect, particularly when it is infused with belief, clarity, and optimism. This might be the moment when everything changes, not because you desired it, but because something deeper is finally ready to react. Now choose one. I like this video. If you have not already done so, subscribe to the channel. Let we begin. You've sensed it. Perhaps it's been subtle, repeated numbers, particular individuals leaving your life, unusual nightmares, or even periods of great quiet in which time seems to halt, nearly stop. These are not glitches. They're indications, clues that something within you is changing. The world around you hasn't caught up yet, but it soon will. This is the gap between who you were and who you are becoming. Also, there's that gap. It is sacrosanct. Most people disregard it. They rush away from it. But you are watching this. You remained. That signifies something. When life changes, it does not make a loud announcement. It whispers. It shows the proper video, message, and experience. At the proper moment, in your hands. This is one of those occasions when your history may have seemed like a loop. Cycles of attempting, failing, doubting, and repeating. Yet what if I told you that those patterns are shattering right now? Yet nothing you've done has been in vain, and no tear, setback, or sleepless night has ever been worthless. All of this is part of a larger plan, a heavenly architecture. And right now, you're closer than ever to experiencing a life that not only looks different, but also feels different. However, with tremendous change comes enormous opposition. That resistance may manifest as dread. It could seem to be a loss. Sometimes it manifests as silence. Long times when nothing seems to be occurring. But don't confuse silence for absence. In actuality, it is preparation. When things break apart, they don't leave to punish you. They are clearing room. You were never designed to bear this much. You were never intended to settle. For what? Simply works. You were made for impact, depth, and purpose. That reverberates beyond the surface of your everyday existence. Right now, you may be harboring unresolved questions. Why me? Why now? Why isn't everything turning out as I expected? But maybe the better question is, what if this is precisely how it is intended to go? What if the delay served as a kind of protection? What if your sadness opened the door to insight you would never have had otherwise? You've been smashed open. But the shattering wasn't destructive. It was the beginning of your development. Consider the folks who misinterpreted you. I rejected and questioned you. Their function was crucial. Without them, you would not have gained discernment. Without them, you could have spent your whole life trying to fit into a world that couldn't accommodate your full potential. Some of the biggest transformations are disguised as endings. Relationships, careers, friendships, and even identities. All transitory scaffolding for the soul's true development. The scaffolding is now crumbling down because you are ready. And since the actual structure is increasing, you are not expected to feel ready. You're not expected to know all the answers. However, you must listen to detect the messages buried in plain sight. When the old starts to crumble, the ego shouts. It wants to survive. It wants to cling to the familiar. But the soul rejoices. The soul knows that death is always followed by resurrection. The aspects of you that are disintegrating are not your actual self. These were masks. These were teachings. And now they're being undressed. So the light underneath might finally shine. There's something unique about folks who feel like outsiders. They do not follow what everyone else does. They can see through things. They move with quiet depth. And although they typically travel alone, their trek is far from useless. If you felt alienated, out of place, or invisible, it's not because you're missing. It is because you are holding something uncommon. Not everyone understands you. They are not intended to, since you are not here to fit in. You came here to awaken. You've weathered storms you don't speak about. You have borne burdens quietly. You've dried your own tears and persevered when it seemed like no one was watching. That inner strength is your superpower. And while the rest of the world seeks external validation, you've been quietly preparing for a greater mission, one that does not demand attention but transforms all it touches. You do not need everyone to believe in you. You just need to quit questioning yourself. The anguish you went through was not only for survival. It was a preparation. Now you'll see why you had to trek through those valleys. The strands are now coming together. The individuals you've lost, the time, that did not make sense. You have to make the moves on your own. Everything was building up to here. The adjustment you're experiencing isn't merely emotional. It is spiritual. And once it starts, it cannot be stopped. This is why you are being encouraged to slow down, observe, and listen. Because what is beyond will need a more tranquil heart and mind. This is more than simply another motivating speech. This is not about hype or hustling. This is about alignment. About moving into what has always been there for you. The minute you finally let go of control, you stopped struggling and began flowing. Life will not always make sense, but you will know when things start to align. Not in your mind, but rather in your bones. You'll experience an unwavering tranquility, a clear voice that cuts through the cacophony, a knowledge that cannot be described, but rather experienced. Many individuals pursue the limelight, unaware that the true change occurs in the dark, in the stillness, when no one is looking. That's where the roots develop. That's when the real work starts. And you've been developing roots the whole time. That's why everything seems still. That's why the outcomes seem delayed. Because you were not being buried. You were being planted. And now it's nearly time to rise. However, rising does not appear how you might anticipate. It doesn't elicit applause. It makes no attempt to proclaim itself. It seems peaceful, like presence, like finally being comfortable with who you are. When you no longer have to prove yourself. When you stop seeking approval from the rest of the world, you have finished proving yourself. Your power starts. It's not loud, but it is inexorable. And that is exactly what you are doing right now. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. You are not lost. You are being redirected. And this redirection, it is sacrosanct. Allow it to unfold. Let it educate you. Allow it to break you open in all of the right ways. Because you will quickly understand that nothing went to waste. Nor the agony, nor the delay. Not even the misunderstanding. Everything was operating silently, faithfully preparing the foundation for life. You are about to enter. The most essential thing you can do now is to keep going. You've been strolling through a world that seems familiar, but something is changing beneath your feet. The areas where you once felt at ease now seem too tiny. The talks that used to keep you company now seem like echoes from another version of yourself. This is not an indication that you're wandering. It indicates that you are developing. And evolution is not always elegant. Sometimes it seems to be tiredness. It may sometimes seem confusing. But deep underneath everything, a calm force is emerging, forging something new. When you start to outgrow the life you created in survival mode, everything may seem to be falling apart, yet it is really coming together. The turmoil is not punishment. It's a transitional period, and transitions are messy. It awakens all of the buried elements of ourselves, including our anxieties, habits, and expectations acquired from others. It prompts us to question everything. That is part of the process. You're not meant to have all the answers right now. You're expected to believe the dismantling, even if it makes no sense. The previous version of you, the one that accepted too much, suppressed their light to maintain peace, and waited for permission, is disappearing. You may feel terrible about letting go of individuals or positions that formerly defined you. However, guilt does not always indicate that you are incorrect. It's typically a sign that you're healing, and healing needs you to select yourself. Sometimes, for the first time, those who actually see you refuse to go. Those who just enjoyed your quiet will. You weren't born to shrink. You were not designed to lead a life of compromise and silent disappointment. However, the world pushes us to exchange authenticity for acceptability. It teaches us that being liked is more important than being authentic. So we perform. We adapt. We pretend. Until one day the mask was too heavy and the stillness is too loud. That's when change starts. That's when you wake up. Not just physically, but spiritually. Your intuition has been whispering realities that your mind is unprepared to receive. You've disregarded it before. You have reasoned your way back to comfort. However, this time is different. This time the attraction is too great. You cannot go back. Not really. Because you've already tasted the truth. And once you've tasted it, you can never completely forget it. You may attempt to settle again. You may attempt to fit in, but your soul will resist. It always does. Transformation is not something that occurs overnight. It is not a single choice, but a sequence of moments in which you choose to connect with your higher self, even if it means sacrificing comfort, especially since the expense of remaining small outweighs the danger of expanding. And the risk. That is where freedom resides. That's where the version of you that dreams bigger, loves deeper, and lives more completely awaits. Do not hurry this procedure. You are not behind. You are not too late. The time of your waking was never intended to coincide with the world's calendar. You blossom when you are ready. And being ready is not a result of pressure. It stems from surrender. You have tried pushing things before. You've tried controlling results and determining your value based on what works or doesn't. But that is not where your power resides. Your power is in your presence. In all honesty, in your capacity to remain open. Even when everything inside you wants to shut down, what's coming will not require you to be anything other than who you are. Beneath the layers are those who are supposed to walk beside you. I will not ask you to shrink. They will not expect you to put on a show for them. They will see your soul. They will sense your honesty. They will rise beside you, not out of necessity, but because to resonance. Because when you tap into your real energy, you attract individuals who resonate with your vibration rather than your fear. There's a life waiting for you that seems peaceful, like flow, like clarity. You may not see it now, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Seeds germinate underground long before they reach the surface. You've sown those seeds, and every time, you chose truth over comfort, alignment over approbation, and depth over surface. You were planting, and now the roots are robust. Now you may rise without worry of relapsing into the past, because you are no longer the same person you were before. You have earned this. The world does not reward quiet with change. It rewards bravery, and bravery does not mean the absence of fear. It is ultimately up to you to make the choice to relocate. Even if your voice shakes and you're not sure where it's going. If your heart says it's time, then it is. Do not wait for evidence. Don't keep waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. Start walking. You will construct the bridge as you travel. You could feel terrified. That is all right. Fear is part of the adventure. But don't let it dictate your decisions. Fear desires protection, not your spirit. Your soul desires liberation. The two seldom go in the same direction. Choose your soul again and again, even if it means sacrificing fleeting comfort, even if it means losing someone. Because choosing your truth brings you closer to the life you were born to live. You are not need to explain yourself to others who cannot hear your frequency. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be yourself, completely, courageously. And it alone is a revolution. That alone alters everything. You're not a mistake. Your journey is not random. Your need for more is not a defect. It is guidance. You are being shown what is possible. You are being called forward. This time you're listening. Maintain a sense of stability. Stay alert. Don't let the noise distract you. Of course, now is the moment for clarity, for alignment, to recall why you began this adventure in the first place. You've gotten too far too dull. You've shed too much to go back. Allow the fire inside you to blaze brighter than the fear around you. Allow your truth to speak louder than your doubt. Because the world needs your voice, presence, and light. Even when you don't feel visible, you still have an impact on everything around you. Your energy does not lie. It creates waves. It makes contact. It transforms. Do not overlook the importance of your recovery. When you climb, you encourage others to do the same. Not because you told them to, but because your sheer presence demonstrates what is possible. You become a mirror, a beacon, and a reminder. That is strong. So take a breath. Feel your feet against the earth. Know that you are here for a purpose. Not only survive, but flourish. To remember. To awaken. Everything changes because of you. And the more you welcome change, the more life responds. With doorways you never knew existed. Keep going. The next chapter is just waiting for you to flip the page. Change isn't always audible. It might be quiet and virtually imperceptible. It occurs in the delicate moments when you say no instead of yes. When you make your decision, let go of the need to prove your value. When you quit taking calls that exhaust you. These are the changes that are not celebrated. But they are important. They sum up. They shape you. They construct a new world without requesting applause. And ultimately, the world around you catches up with what's already changed inside. However, there is frequently a period of confusion before this occurs. It's as if you're in between two universes. The one you've outgrown and the one you haven't entered yet. That area is holy. It's the cocoon before the wings develop. It is unpleasant. Yes, you may feel disoriented or as if nothing is occurring. But believe in the calm. Everything is reconfiguring. The universe is listening. Even when it seems quiet, your energy is recalibrating. The decisions you make today are forming the foundation of the life you will lead. Quiet, consistent, and thoughtful decisions. There may be times when you are tempted to return to your former life. Not because it's correct, but because it is familiar. You'll be tempted to revert to old habits of saying yes when you mean no. Dim yourself simply to maintain the peace. But every time you reject that urge, you build a new future. Every instant of self-awareness is a thread in the fabric of the new world emerging around you. That labor is genuine, even if no one else sees it. It is what distinguishes between repeating the past and breaking away from it. People may not grasp what you're doing right now. They could believe you have changed, and they be correct. You're shedding, you're shifting, and metamorphosis, which makes people uncomfortable, particularly when it mirrors the parts of themselves that remain stuck. Don't let their agony diminish you. Allow it to serve as a reminder that you are going forward and are no longer trapped. You don't owe somebody the previous version of yourself merely to make them feel safe in their stagnation. Growing up may be lonely at times. You'll miss the version of yourself who didn't know better since life was simpler back then. However, simpler is not necessarily better. And being innocent does not necessarily equate to freedom. Now you can see through the illusions. You can no longer pretend that this is the cost of awareness. It is painful, but it is also powerful. Because you now have a choice. You are no longer guided by unconscious patterns. You are awake, and awareness is everything. Allow yourself to mourn for what is past, those that did not stay, the life you had to leave behind, the unfulfilled hopes. You thought that mourning is not a weakness. It's been released, and releasing provides room. That is where the new enters. However, it can only enter if you don't speed the procedure. If you don't numb it, and you stay with it long enough to learn what it's teaching you. Every ending has a message, a gift, but only if you are open to feeling it. The most difficult aspect of this trip is trusting something you can't see. You've been taught to believe only in what is observable, demonstrable, and rational. But your soul does not work at that level. It communicates via energy, nudges, and unshakable emotions. You cannot explain. The mind will resist. It wants facts, promises, and formulae. However, the reality you are now being urged to follow does not fit neatly into categories. It resides in the unseen, in the flow. During the surrender,